this thing. All right, well, welcome to RU 703. Good to have you all here as the people drool in or dribble in or something. I don't know. Some of us, yeah. So, week before Thanksgiving, I want to get this. I'm going to try to say this again so people there get it. Y'all remember, there's no RU next week. There's nobody to cover me. I'm going to be gone, and there's nobody to open the doors. There's just, so if somebody wants to come down, and I'll figure out how to get you in and do something, but I just don't, yeah. So next week, nothing, but we'll be back after that. So we're just here to help each other to find, maintain, and grow our walk with the Lord, and it's been good. Does anybody just ready to have a blessing or a prayer request, anything like that? Anything right now? Just anybody? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Matt's going to finally, we were just talking to him on the way, he's going to start driving home. What day did he say? Monday.
This next Monday again? Monday or Tuesday, yeah. So is that 2 days, 3 days, 1 day?
He's leaving, he's picking up the U-Haul sometime Monday morning. Then he's going to go back and load it up, sleep, and then leave like at 1 a.m. Tuesday morning. And then...
So for a normal person...
He drives like a grandma, so...
Oh, good.
I told him I'm eating at 1 o'clock on Thursday, whether he's here or not, so...
Okay. All right, good. All right, well, good. That's awesome. I'm really excited for him. That's going to be good to see him again. If you didn't hear him on this here, it just said Matt, good friend of ours, is getting ready to come back and move himself down here, so it'll be good. Yep. Well, I had a blessing today. My wife didn't approve, but I have a class where I have just a couple of kids in there, and one of the little girls that was in there, I got her to laugh, which is an accomplishment. She didn't just laugh; she was crying, and she couldn't stop for it. It must have been 10 minutes. It was just, but it was a real blessing to me because she doesn't open up much and different things like that. But I could just see a change in every part of her body, physically, her demeanor, everything else. It just kind of relaxed, and the shoulders went down, and the head came up, and she was smiling. I mean, it was pretty cool, and it's been a long time. I'm supposed to be teaching. I get that. But that was worth a couple days worth of teaching right there. I think that just that helped a lot. So, and what did I keep telling him? I'm going again. I said, laughter is like bones for the medicine. That's it. It's good for you. It's good for you to laugh and let go sometimes. It's just a good thing. So, well, let's go ahead and do our 10 principles, and we'll get started. Number 1 says, if God's against it, so am I. Number 2, every sin has its origin in our heart. Number 3, it's easier to keep the heart clean than to clean it after it's been defiled. Number 4, we cannot fight a fleshly appetite by indulging in it. Number 5, small compromises lead to great disasters. 6, those who do not love the Lord will not help you serve the Lord. Number 7, our sinful habits do hurt those who follow us. Number 8, it's not possible to fight a fleshly temptation with a fleshly weapon. Number 9, we lose our freedom to choose when we give in to temptation. Our consequences are inevitable, incalculable, and up to God. And number 10, God balances guilt with blame. Accept the blame for your actions, and God will remove the guilt. When we get done with Psalms 1 here, I'm going to be on principle number 2, and we'll talk about that for a little bit. Psalms 1 says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, that the way of the ungodly shall perish. Let me get back over here. I was thinking this morning when I was doing my meditations, and I'm not going to do much with this probably unless it comes out sometime just because it does. But I was reading, what is today? 19th, right? Yes, so Proverbs 19, 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much. But I'd read them, of course, many times, but God showed me two different words there, like a juxtaposition. And one of them is being hasty, and the other one is having integrity. And I never really thought about how those are such opposites of each other. Hastiness is no thought, just do. Integrity is doing right because it's right. Hasty is a means to an end. I want something. Integrity, it's the end. It's just, that's it. I'm not trying to get anything. That's what I'm going to do. I just thought that it was helpful to me. So I'm just going to throw that out there. So there we go. Number 2, every sin has its origin in our heart. And also, every good thing has its origin in my heart also. Out of the heart are the issues of life. So sin, the things I do wrong, it comes from my heart. And when I do things right, that also comes from my heart. So what's the difference? The difference is what's in your heart. And what's in your heart is what you put in your heart. Okay, because we have control over what's in our heart. Now, before we got saved, not so much, okay? But after salvation, we have the option to put new stuff in our heart. That's where our new creature is. We have to feed our new creature. We have to put things in there for it. Otherwise, it just doesn't know much. Our old nature, our sin nature, we've been working on that one all our life. That's just what we've been doing. So that's what's going on. Proverbs 12:20 says, deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil. But to the counselors of peace is joy. But deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil. If that's what we've been putting in our heart, we're going to have deceit, lies, wickedness. James 1:14 and 15. And this is a really, really good set of verses here, unless you apply it to yourself, and then it's not quite so good. It's kind of intense. It says, every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, like had a baby, bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it's finished, bringeth forth death. So sin starts with temptation. Temptation is not wrong. Temptation is temptation. Jesus was tempted in every way like us. God led him into temptation in the desert. He led him there. And so it's not sin to be tempted. It's sin to go with it. Get drawn away. So you're tempted, lust, enticed, and then you go through with it, and now you got problems. So sin has its origin in our heart, and it manifests. See, it's in our heart, but it doesn't come out there. It manifests somewhere else and later on. It's what we put in our heart that's going to come out, but it's not always coming out. Sin doesn't always come out, but if we have that in our heart, it will come out at some time. And I've used a lot of illustrations. My favorite one is when I was playing softball for the church softball league, the slow pitch softball, which is amazing because I nearly always struck out. Just so you know, that's pretty sad, right? Slow pitch. But I did because I tried too hard and I'd miss the ball and all that. But so when I'm playing, and they put me in right field, and I'm like, guys, this is not a good place for me to play. I know how to catch ball. That's not a problem. I don't have a problem catching the ball. The problem is when it's up in the air, I have no depth perception. So I don't know if it's going to be, way in front of me or way behind me when it's up in the air. I just can't tell. That's not a good place, right, Tom? That's not. If I told you that, you'd be like, no. But they put me out there, and I'm doing fine. There were some ground balls. I got them, and I don't have a very good arm either, but it works. And then the guy hits a fly ball, a really tall fly ball, and I'm like, and so this word comes out of my mouth, church baseball league, right? And it's like loud. I'm like, "Mwah!" Because I knew it was, and I ran in and it was behind me, of course. And if I'd run out, it would have been in front of me. It didn't matter what I did. I was not going to get the ball. But you know what? I hadn't cussed like that in, I don't know, 10 years, easily, or more, because that's not a thing I did with regularity, except in high school, really. But why did that come out? Because it was there. If it's there, it's going to come out. Your high-stress situation, it's just going to come out. That's what I wanted to get at there. So we try to get sin out of our heart, stuff out of our heart, but to get there, we have to understand where it's really coming from, okay? We'd have to follow the sin backward, find the trigger. was talking to some kids the other day about what triggers you to do these things. Well, I don't have any control over my triggers. I said, yes, you do. You don't have to. When that happens, it doesn't have to cause this. But it's not easy to get there because it's not a matter of, putting like a cover on the trigger or putting a lock through it. You need to find out why that trigger's there and get to the thing behind the trigger and get that. And God can help us do that. But we have to keep our heart with all diligence, for out of the issues of life. We have to be careful what we allow in our heart. So Mark 7:14 and 15, it says, and when he had called all the people unto them, he said unto them, hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand. For there's nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him. It's not the things that come into a man that defile him, as in what I eat. That's really what he's talking about. But the things which come out of him, those are the things that defile me. It's not the things that come in that defile me. It's what comes out, like out of my mouth or my actions. That's what defiles me. That's sin. It's not necessarily what I allow in. That's wrong. But when it comes out, that's what defiles me. That's when people see it and they're like, oh, that's not good. And it hurts my testimony and all the other stuff. And then a little bit later in there, Mark 7:21 through 23, says, for from within, out of the hearts of men proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, and an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man. They're in our heart. Okay, they're in our heart. Luke 6:45, a good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good. So if our heart is good and we put good things into our heart, good things are going to come out of our heart. And then it says, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil. So what do you put in your heart? What are you on purpose putting into your heart? Or what are you allowing into your heart? We have to be careful what goes in here. Proverbs 28:26, he that trusteth his own heart is a fool. He that trusteth his own heart is a fool. This is the season for Hallmark movies, right? Hallmark movies, yeah. And I have a limited number of Hallmark movies I can watch because then I have to go to the dentist. It's too much sugar. But the theme for every Hallmark movie is trust your heart, right? Am I wrong? I mean, that's what it is. Everything's the same, and I watch this. I enjoy a couple of them. They're not that bad. I just can't watch a lot of them one after the other. After a while, it's like, But the philosophy there is horrible. Don't follow your heart. Oh, my soul, you're gonna get in so much trouble. Don't follow your heart. Follow the Lord. The emotions cannot be trusted. Heart cannot be, especially our heart. Now, if it's God's heart and he's put things in our heart and he's written on the tables of our heart, that heart we can trust. But that's the Lord. That's not our heart. That's his heart. Okay? And our actions begin with our hearts. Steve Currington's famous line, before we done it, we thunk it. We have to learn to control our thoughts so we can control our actions. Proverbs 16:3, it says, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. So how do we control our thoughts? We commit ourselves, our works, the things we do. We commit that we will do whatever God tells us to do. And as we do that, it's his works, it's what he wants us to do. He's directing and controlling us. And as we are doing his things, then he is working in our mind to establish our thoughts, to make our thoughts be where they're supposed to be, about the things they're supposed to be about, and the way we're supposed to think. We need to work. You ever thought about this? Luke 2:52 says, and Jesus increased in favor. I'm going to miss some of these. I just lost it. Luke 2:52. And Jesus increased in favor with God and man. In wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. He increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. He increased mentally. He increased socially. He increased spiritually. And he increased physically. Jesus. Well, he didn't have to increase. He's God. He's already perfect. No, he had to grow. He had to learn. But this thing about mental growth, one of my kids is doing a paper on this. But mental growth, how do we grow mentally? I mean, we have to exercise our mind. There's a lot of ways we can grow mentally, but one of them is to learn to think properly. The kids are always like, why do we have to take math? That's the biggest one. And so you may never use, a quadratic equation. Okay, you may not, I get that. But the process of doing and learning math establishes your thoughts. It gets a logical thought process in order. You start here, you do this, you do this, you do this, you follow the process, you follow the rules, you get to the end. That's how we're supposed to live our life. It's not just like a shotgun thing where it's just like whatever. So we need to learn to think, and that's one of the things that God does. As we do His work, He establishes, He gets the mental processes going the right direction and thinking about the right things. So if we spend our time, we have to learn to control our thoughts so we can control our actions. Modern psychiatry says, I can control your thoughts by controlling your actions. That's what Skinner and all these guys said. If we control their actions, we can make them think the way we want us to think. Okay, but that doesn't work that way. This behaviorism, brainwashing, all this, and to some degree you can, but really the thoughts are still there. Okay, we can force something on it, but it doesn't work that way. But if I can change your thoughts, if you can change what your thoughts are, your actions will change. Actions are controlled by thoughts. Thoughts are not controlled by actions. Okay, we have to get that right. So when we're saved, we have two natures. We have our old nature, our sin nature, and then we have our new nature, our godly nature. So how do we control, which one is going to rule our actions? They're both there. So how do I allow or have or whatever God to control my actions? Well, I've got to have Him in my thoughts. I've got to have Him in my heart, in my mind. I've got to know what He wants. I've got to read His Word. I've got to listen to Him talk. Okay, I've got to listen to Him speak to me and put that not just in my head but in my heart. And when it's, if you read the verbiage in Proverbs, it's really cool. It's engraved on the table of your heart. It's written in your heart. It's bound about your neck. Not tightly like to choke you, but like as a necklace, an ornament, to make you look beautiful, if you will, to make you look good. It's bound on your fingers. And you have to continually tighten it and make sure that it's there, because if you start ignoring it, it'll get loose, it'll slip, it'll come off. So how do we get in our heart? We have to continually put it there, and we have to do it on purpose. And as we do that, our actions will be God's actions. The actions that we actually desire. Because I can want something and do something else sometimes. We do it all the time. I do something and you say, well, why did I do that? I don't like it, I didn't enjoy it, I hate it, I know that it's wrong. It's because I let something besides my spirit have control. I let my body have control. I let my emotions have control. I let my my will have control, instead of letting the spirit have, or my desires. That's a big one. Don't go with your desires. Let's see, don't say that. Take that back. Desire, God created us to desire things. There's nothing wrong with that. But when our desires control us, we focus on that desire and we lose everything else. Everything else goes. Again, back to your first love. That first time you just I fell in love. You lose your mind. Is that true? I mean, you lose your mind. You can't think about anything else. You wake up thinking about her or him. Throughout the day, you look at something, it's like, oh, that reminds me of, all day long. Yeah, you're doing your stuff, but your mind is focused on that one thing all day. And you will do things and say things that you know are wrong, that you know are not going to work well, that are going to drive people away from you that you love. They're going to separate you in relationships, because that's your desire and you're focused on it. Desire is great. God wants us to have desire. God's put desire in our heart. God gives us the desires He wants in our heart. And then we can fulfill those desires. That's great. But even if it's God's desire, I still can't let that thing control me. Desire is not supposed to control. Desire is a motivator. Because of desire, I'm passionate. I have a great want to do it, but I'm controlled by the Spirit. God controls me, and I want to do because of my desire. I want to do, but he's in control. The desire's not in control. We've got to have, God's got to be in control. So how about this? You think of your mind, your heart, as a field, because the Bible talks a lot about farming and stuff. So in a field, if you don't plant anything, and it rains, there's water and stuff, if you don't plant anything, what's going to grow? Weeds, mostly weeds. I mean, because that's just what's out there in nature. And so our sin nature, because we don't really work at it, it plants weeds in our heart. Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So if you have weeds in your field and you want to plant crops, I want to plant, wheat or corn or barley or something, what do I have to do? I got to plow the field. I got to get rid of the weeds. I got to plow it up. Hosea 10:12, it says, sow to yourself in righteousness, reap in mercy. Okay, what we plant, we reap. Break up your fallow ground, the ground that's not growing anything. For it's time to seek the Lord till he come and rain righteousness upon you. He's going to water your field and help things to grow. Okay? And after we're saved, we need to start plowing up our field to get rid of as many weeds as we possibly can. We need to confess sin. We need to repent of sin. We need to turn from sin. We need to plant our crops. We need to do right things. Read the Bible, listen to preaching, study the Word, meditate on the Word, water the fields, have a close relationship with the Holy Spirit. Now, have any of you ever planted a garden and grown a garden or know anything about this at all? Because even if you do that, you plow it, you fertilize, you plant, you water, and your whatever you are growing comes up, what also always still comes up anyway? Weeds. Now, I didn't plant the weeds, but they're there. They come up. And so there's still sin, and there's consequences to sin. And we can pull them up. But you know what's better to do in a garden? You know what? One of the ways, my dad taught me this, to get rid of, to mitigate weeds is to plant strong, healthy crops. And to have them grow, because that strong, healthy plant, as it grows, it will take the nutrients, it will take the water, and the weeds it doesn't have anything to grow. In a really healthy garden, weeds don't grow as much. Now they still do, but not as much. So we need to be planting the things we need to plant. Proverbs 4:23, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Every sin has its origin in our heart. And just one more thing here, and I'll be done. There was, when we were out in California, at the church we had in Panama Avenue, before we moved to the new property, there was a little old man just up the street about 2 or 3 blocks. His last name was Harris. He was just a little old guy. His grandkids came to our school for a while. And because of that, we went over and visited him, got to meet him. And I was there one time with Pastor when he was talking to him, and he was just, how little old men are. They're just kind of us talking and saying really smart things. Just a real country kind of guy. And he said, Pastor, I've planted a lot of stuff in my life, and stuff is coming up. The stuff I planted, it's coming up. And I really can't change that because it's planted, it's growing. I've got no way to make it not grow. He said, so instead of me fighting that all the time, he said, what I learned to do is I just start planting a bunch of other stuff as often and as much as I can. And that kind of takes its place. It overcomes the stuff that I planted way back then. I can't change that, but I better start planting now. And then pretty soon that stuff will come up, and the other stuff won't be there as much. This will take over from it. I just thought that was a real wise saying. It doesn't happen overnight. But we got to work on it. And the question you need to ask yourself kind of every day is, what are you planting? What did you plant today? So it's not going to come up tomorrow, and probably not next week, a couple of months, a year, it's going to come up. So you got to be aware of that, because it's not a hasty thing. There you go. It's not a hasty thing. It doesn't happen quickly. That's what we like, microwave popcorn, fast food. It's not like that. It takes a while. So, but we have to be diligent. Think. That's when the integrity does, is it considers it. It looks to the future. And what am I planting now? Because I want it to come up. Elijah, just for you, because you're younger than the rest of us here, except the little one there, you need to start planting stuff now, because in 10 years, it's going to come up in your life. And you need to think, what do I want in my life in 10 years? If I would have thought that, there's a whole bunch of stuff I wouldn't have done. Because I still have stuff coming up in my life from when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. I planted it that long ago. It's still coming up. Now, not as much, because I've learned to plant other stuff. But there's preventive maintenance, and then there's just plant the other stuff. So number 2, every sin has its origin in our heart. And again, really, just as every sin has its origin in our heart, so does every good thing have its origin in our heart. So what's in your heart, and what are you planting?